All right, let's get started. So today's lesson is going to be about 2.3, which is subtracting rational numbers. Just a reminder, you should have your math composition notebook out and you should be taking notes on whatever I am writing and whatever's on the screen. All right, so the learning target for today is going to be, I will be able to subtract rational numbers. So this is going to be very similar to lesson 1.3 that you should have just watched, except we're going to be using rational numbers, so fractions and decimals. Okay, so let's take a look at the rule. So the rule is to subtract rational numbers, you're going to use the same rules for signs as you used for integers. So let's just remember really quick what our rule was for subtracting integers. To subtract integers, and if you forgot, you can write it as I'm writing it. To subtract integers, you add its opposite. So that is our rule. That is it. Okie doke. So let's get started. For example 1, it wants us to find negative 4 1/7 minus negative 6/7. So first, before we even begin, I would like us to turn, negative 4 1/7 into an improper fraction. This is going to help us to subtract fractions. Whenever you see a mixed number and you're doing subtraction or addition, you should always turn it into an improper fraction. So to remind you how to do that, to turn negative 4 1/7 into an improper fraction, obviously you're going to keep the negative sign. Then you're going to take the whole number, 4, multiply it by 7, and then you're going to add 1. That's going to be your new numerator, and then your denominator is going to stay the same, so it's going to be 7. So if we do that, that is going to give us negative 4 times 7 is 28, plus 1 is 29. So we're going to get negative 29/7. All right, now that we've turned that into an improper fraction, we are going to be using that for our new problem. So let's rewrite this with our improper fraction. So we're going to have negative 29/7 minus negative 6/7. So now we need to use our subtracting integers rule. So again, that rule is to subtract integers, you're going to add its opposite. So we are going to add the opposite of negative 6/7. The opposite of negative 6/7 is going to be a positive 6/7. So we're going to add a positive 6/7. All right, so now we want to make sure that if the number is negative, we bring that negative up to the numerator. So we are going to have negative 29 plus 6, then our denominator is going to be 7. Notice how our denominator is the same, and that's why we can add these two fractions together. Okay, so now we want to work on the top. So I'm going to highlight this just so we keep track of it. We want to work on the top, okay? So negative 29 plus 6. We're going to go back to 1.2, which is adding integers, and we're going to do those same rules. So we're going to take the absolute value of negative 29, which gives me a positive 29, take the absolute value of 6, which gives me 6. And remember, our rule is to subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. So we're going to do 29 minus 6, which is going to give us 23. Then we need to take the sign of the greater absolute value. The greater absolute value this time is negative 29. There is a negative in front of it. Therefore, our 23 is going to be negative. All right, so we know now that this numerator is going to be negative 23. Our denominator stays the same, which is 7. So this answer is all right. If you would like to write the improper fraction as a mixed number, you need to decide how many times does 7 go into 23? Well, I know that 7 times 3 is 21. So keeping the negative sign, we know that we can make 3 wholes out of that. And then the difference between 21 and 23 is 2. So our remainder would be 2/7. So that would be our final answer. I'm pretty sure Big Ideas will take the improper fraction as well. Okay, let's move on to our decimal example. So we want to find 12.8 minus 21.6. We're going to use the same rules. The rules are to subtract integers, you're going to add its opposite. the opposite of 21.6 is just going to be negative 21.6. So we're going to add negative 21.6. Then we are going to do the same thing we did in 1.2. Take the absolute values of both numbers. That's going to give me a positive 12.8. Take the absolute value of negative 21.6. That's going to give me a positive 21.6. Subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. So 21.6 minus 12.8. And if I'm doing this by hand, I need to set this up better so that I can do this subtraction. So I'm going to go over here up top, 21.6 minus, oops, that's not lined up very well. Let's retry it. Minus 12.8. Okay? So 6 minus 8, that we don't have enough, so we need to borrow. So turn this into a 16 and borrow from this 1. 16 minus 8 is 8. Remember, decimal point gets brought down. 0 minus 2, don't have enough, so I need to change this to a 10 and borrow from this 2. 10 minus 2 is 8, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. So our answer is just going to be 8.8. But then we need to do our last step, which is take the sign of the greater absolute value. Well, this is the greater absolute value, and I see that there's a negative in front of it. Therefore, we need to put a negative in front of our answer. So 12.8 minus 21.6 is going to give you negative 8.8, and that's going to be our final answer. Okay, so right now on your own, I would like you to pause this screen and in your math notebook, try out number 1 and number 2 on your own. Once you've completed those 2, I would like you to come back here and check your answers. Make sure that you are following all the rules and that you are making sure to change mixed numbers, so this one, into an improper fraction first. I'm going to write this reminder for you. Change to improper fraction. Okay, so pause the video and get started on those. Okay, so you should have gotten, for your answers, 2/3 for number 1, and you should have gotten negative 4 1/6 for number 2. So those are the answers for the on your own. Okay, example 3, on to the last example. It wants us to find the distance between the 2 numbers on the number line. These are the 2 numbers to the right, 2 1/3 and negative 2 2/3. All right, so to find the distance, we're going to set this up by writing negative 2 2/3 minus 2 1/3, okay? We're finding the distance between these numbers, which that means we're going to subtract the 2. So let's do our rules. To subtract integers, we want to add its opposite. So we're going to add the opposite of 2 1/3, which is going to be negative 2 1/3. Okay? Next, we need to change these to improper fractions, okay? So negative sign here, we'll go 2 times 3 plus 2 over 3. Remember, whole number times denominator plus the numerator, all over that denominator, plus negative 2 times 3 plus 1 over 3. So again, we're doing that same setup. Whole number times denominator plus numerator. Okay, that's going to give us negative 8/3 plus negative 7/3. Okay, then we're going to write this down here. It's going to turn into negative 8 plus negative 7 all over 3. All right, from there we have negative 8 plus negative 7. I can think about a number line this way, but if I'm already in debt $8 and then I'm adding $7 more of debt, the total debt is just going to be 8 plus 7, which is going to give me 15. But I know that's in debt because these have the same signs. So I'm going to get negative 15 over 3, which I know negative 15 divided by 3 is going to give me negative 5. All right, so the distance, now remember, distance is always positive. Distance can't be negative. which means we need to take the absolute value of this -5 to get our final answer. And that's going to tell me that the distance between these two numbers is 5. That is the distance. Okay, you may go ahead and we will get started on the Big Ideas assignment tomorrow in class. Make sure you have these notes down in your math composition notebook, and thank you for watching.